Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Test. 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 Evening, everyone. I hope that you're all well and that you've had a good weekend. Hi, Matt. Right, so today I don't really have any announcements other than at some point over the course of the next week. I had thought I was going to do it on Thursday evening, but it's not going to happen now. I'm going to do a live podcast, a live stream podcast. But all I'll do is I will make that information available, evening Sharon, on all of the usual channels, WhatsApp, the Facebook groups and so on. And I'll try a couple of guinea pig training sessions and then probably roll it out. And whether it replaces YouTube or not, I don't know. I suspect it will, because it's something that I'll be able to do when I get back. Right, there's quite a lag today, but it looks like we actually have audio. Right, so today I encountered this evening, Anne. I encountered this Koan. It's actually a Zen Koan. Zen is it's a branch of Buddhism. When Bodhidharma brought Buddhism to China, I believe this is the origin of Zen. Please put something in the comments if I'm wrong. He set up what's known as Chan Buddhism, and then when that found its way to Japan, it became Zen Buddhism. And an interesting element of Zen is a thing called a koan. A famous one is, can you hear the sound of one hand clapping? Very clever. Very, very clever. But they're not to be taken literally, but sometimes they are. Anyway, this I don't know if it's a koan or it's a saying or whatever, and it's actually about Zen, but I've tweaked it a little bit to apply to meditation, because it does, which is that meditation doesn't give you the answers, it helps you to let go of the questions. And so what does that actually mean? I thought I'd unravel it a little bit. So the questions, we know what the questions are. We wake up in the morning and they're spinning in our head. Is this right? Is this wrong? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this fair? Is this unfair? Should I do this? Should I do that? Would I do this? Would I do that? Should this person do this? Should they do that? Should I tell them this? Should I tell them? Rattle, rattle, rattle. And you can multiply it. Let me know what you'd like me to spell. If you mean koan, it's Koan. And so there they are. There's life's questions, and they can be big questions like, do I go and live in another country? Do I, find a new partner? Is this the one? Do I buy a house, sell a house, buy a car, sell a car? Dedicate my life to something, change my career, whatever it might happen to be. And then there's a multitude of other questions, and they're all swimming in the modern mind from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. And then we wake up in the middle of the night, there they are. So how does meditation let go of the questions? And it does it in a very interesting way. So one of the things that happens, which is pretty consistent with long-term meditators, is that we all seem to experience a process of recognition of a consistent reality that works for us. And And it can be, one of the problems is the assumption is, and we are social animals, so there's a tendency for us to want to do this. The assumption is that we need to pick an off-the-shelf philosophy, and that needs to answer all of our questions for us. So, for example, we might join a religion, become an adherent of a certain philosophy or whatever it might happen to be, and then we're looking for that to provide us with all of the answers. My contention is that there's absolutely no need to do that whatsoever if you take the time to connect deeply enough to yourself to recognize what's consistent for your reality and what isn't, and realize that those inconsistencies aren't helpful, and to dismiss them. I think it's from Macbeth, where I can't remember that one. It'll pop into my mind a little bit later intuitively. So, talking of intuition, this recognition, realization about what's consistent and what isn't consistent is something that arises in our awareness, really without any prompting. And really, that's intuition. So when you sit and meditate, what you're doing is you're providing a space for your intuition to arise in your awareness with a consistent answer to something you may well not even be aware was a question in your mind. And there's actually been quite a lot of study done on this. So there's a book by a guy called Daniel Kahneman and his colleague Amos Tversky, called Fast and Slow Thinking, the work for which they got a Nobel Prize. And he in the preface of the book, he clarifies that he very specifically didn't use the word intuition because it's got so much baggage. So what he was basically doing was splitting up intuition from all of the other levels of thought. And all of the other thought is actually quite confusing and long-winded, and it goes round and round in one's head, or there's a logical thought process that we follow, or whatever it might happen to be. And it takes quite a long time. And yet intuition pops into our mind, and then there's a recognition of a consistent reality in that intuition. And this has been popularized by an author called Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote a book called Blink, which I haven't read, but I read a little bit about it, and I know the premise of the book, and I probably have a reasonably good understanding of how intuition operates. I didn't feel the need, but if you're interested as a introduction to intuition, and so the thing to recognize about intuition, if you've got these two processes, one is there's a supposedly logical, rational you that thinks something, and then there's intuition that arises, and the answer's there in a moment. And that can, in meditation, that's a recognition or it's a realization. You realize something, this is the truth. You recognize something, yeah, I know that that's the truth. And so the thing to do is to create a space to enable that to happen, and expect it without looking for it now, because intuition arises in meditation as moments of clarity about things that we'd never really thought of. And so let me give you an example, going back to the good and bad and right and wrong and fair and unfair and so on, that the human mind spends a lot of time going through. If you look around you at what has always happened in the world, but because the media is ramming it down our throat 24/7 now, it seems to be like there's more ideological conflict, shall we say, that consists of a multitude of moral perspectives, right and wrong, good and bad, fair and unfair, and so much of it is the same, but the devil is in the detail, and there's things that people can't agree on, and so these conflicts arise. So now it's difficult operating in a world like that when you encounter actions by people. And so what do you do? Well, as a meditator, nothing is the answer. But what will actually happen is that your relationship to your fellow man will change. So there's a thing called a unity experience. And a unity experience is the recognition, it's a realization, you know it in your heart, that you are connected to everything. There's no separation. It's not, here's little Robert, and then there's all of these other people, and there's all these other places, and then there's various other elements of the universe, and it's all separate. What happens one day is there's a recognition of the connection. And my moment of truth was on a train to Milton Keynes. And usually when you're in a train, you're in the train, and the fields and the towns are all rushing past. But I realised that I was actually in this metal container moving through the countryside very, very quickly. That's the first thing that happened. Had the same thing on an experience on an airplane once, and I stopped meditating because of it. I'd rather have the illusion I'm in this solid room than actually I'm in a metal container hurtling through the sky. And so there was a sense of actually being in the train, as opposed to the sense of it kind of, there's an element of it's static and everything else is moving past. And I looked around at all of the other people in the train, and it hit me that actually we're all related, but not related just in terms of distant cousins. And it's the usual multicultural mix that you get in the United Kingdom, or in the southeast anyway. There was a sense, a realization that it was like being part of a single organism. And to be honest, once I cottoned onto that, it's never really left me. And so all of these other questions, all of the rights and wrongs and goods and bads and fairs and unfairs and so on, it's just gone. Because all of the conflicts and the ideology is essentially human beings being human beings. Where they're doing what human beings do. Misguided, unhelpful, aggressive. Yes, there's psychopaths in the world. Yes, there's evil people in the world. Yes. That's actually part of humanity. And once you accept that, there's a hell of a load of questions go in the bin right there. But that isn't it's something that you can know. So I know that I'm connected to everybody, and that none of us are separate really, and that we all are actually part of one family. You can know that, but not know it in here. And that's the thing. This is the thing that meditation does, is it enables you to recognize and believe the reality of our connection with each other and with everything else, and lots of other things as well. So that's just an example. So I hope I've managed to unravel that little koan. No answers. No, this is right, that's right, this is wrong, these are people are correct, this ideology, this philosophy, this religion, none of that. Yeah, just all gone. It's all gone. Yeah. And there you go. So there's a a koan unraveled for you. You probably didn't, as I can tell, some of you didn't know what a koan was. Well, look it up on Google. There are a lot of very interesting ones. So finding that space, that's the thing. Finding the space that enables these recognitions about the consistent nature of reality to arise. And so if you look at the wisdom traditions that meditation has grown up with, and that have grown up with meditation, such as Buddhism and Hinduism, they all have this concept, it's all one. You know? So, I mean, I think that's what happens when you sit and look inside. But then so do lots of other things. Now, how to find the space? How to find the space? Follow the breath. That's it. Easier said than done, though. Because if it was as simple as that, I'd be out of a job. There'd be no meditation teachers. So how do we follow the breath in a way that we can carry on following the breath? That's the thing that I teach. I don't teach following the breath. I teach you how to be able to carry on doing it. And I also pop up on YouTube every so often, depending on which course you're on. Could be 4 times a week, could be once, to help you do that if you can't. So there you go. I'm quite useful in a way, after all. And so what we'll do is look for the space. Look for the space in these meditations today. We'll start the meditation. Look for the present moment in the sound of the bell. There you go. So that could be a koan. Where is the present moment in the sound of the bell? There it is, moving through time. There's the present moment. Moving through time. And whatever you can hear around you, the present moment's there too. And so you're listening to the sound all around you moving through time, carrying the present moment with it. If there's traffic, if there are airplanes, if there are voices, and then there's the sound of your breath. If you're in a very quiet place, you can notice that. Or even if you're not in a very quiet place, breathing in and out through the nostrils or through the mouth. you can make the breath audible. Breathing in, breathing out. Ujjayi breath, ocean breath, the sound of the ocean in the breath. And you're noticing the movement through time, which is bringing you to the present moment. And that connection to the breath and the present moment is the first step in connecting to an experience that creates the space for your awareness and the calmness and the stillness and the quietness. So in the same way as you can listen to the movement of the present moment through sound, listen to the silence between my words. And notice that as well as a silence between the words, the silence contains the words. The sound exists within the silent stillness. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness within that holds what we want. So that emptiness, that container of the present moment, that's what we're allowing ourselves to become aware of. Both through the progress of the present moment and also by becoming aware of the stillness, the emptiness. And the mind is just doing what the mind does. So we let it. We don't fight it, we don't battle it, we don't try to silence it. Just allow the mind to do its thing. To wander, for thoughts to arise, subside, scenarios, emotions, memories, words. And they're all happening in the same container. The same empty, silent stillness of the present moment. So there's no need to focus on anything specifically. It's good to be aware that the breath is there, rising and falling. It's good to be aware of the present moment moving through sound and time. And it's good to be aware of the mind and the emotions. And all of the sensations in the body. How it feels to be you right here, right now, in this present moment. what we're doing throughout this is letting ourselves become aware of the calm, silent, still emptiness in which all of these phenomena arise and subside. Constantly passing through the mind's eye. And in time, we can relax into this gentle hubbub of the present moment. The more familiar and comfortable we become with it, the more easy it is to relax into this awareness of the present moment. No goals, no expectations, nothing to be gained from it. Just an experience to relax into. My words, your breath, your thoughts, your sensations, what you can see, hear, smell, touch, taste. And in this space, this calmness, quietness, stillness, emptiness, arises whatever emotions there are, whatever thoughts there are. All we're doing is becoming familiar and comfortable with it all. And so maybe checking in with the body, the elbows by the side, feet on the floor, head balanced comfortably on top of the spine. Belly rising and falling. Breath entering and leaving the nostrils. Coolness and warmth in the nostrils. Cool in breath. Warm out breath. Belly rising. Belly falling. So in this we're becoming familiar with all of our inner phenomena, all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the sensations, all the comfort, all the discomfort. We're also becoming familiar with the calmness, the emptiness, the stillness, the quietness. Into which all of our realizations arise when we meditate. All of the recognitions, all of the aha moments. This is where they arise. Just noticing the belly rising and falling. Tiny little movement of the belly. And then whenever you're ready, in your very own time, gently, patiently return your attention to your surroundings. So the Shakespearean quotation from Macbeth, "Things without all remedy should be without regard," which is quite a stoic perspective. But one of the things that happens through meditation is you notice your mind going to these things without remedy all the time. And then one day, click, it's pointless exercise. Yeah, we have to think about our problems, but we don't have to think about them in a compulsive, repetitive manner. And it isn't that we then develop some incredible power to direct our attention somewhere else. It's that we realise a lot of it just doesn't matter. It's this pointless repetition. Okay, so I hope you found that useful, and it made a little bit of sense of the title. Down there, for those of you who aren't members and don't contribute, feel free to pass on some payments, whatever you can afford, or which I'll be grateful for. And I shall be back next week in the public group, but this coming week we've got 2 classes for the mindfulness-based resilience course group, Wednesday and Thursday nights, and then there's a Saturday morning class for the 2020 meditation course group. And as well as that, I will be popping up and posting in the usual places. Down in the description is a link to the latest Facebook group. If you're interested, feel free to join. And that's the sort of place I'll post the live stream podcasts that I'll be doing, and they'll also be free because you'll be the guinea pigs. Right, so that's it for today. Hope you have a fantastic week. Great night's sleep, everybody. Blessings to you all, and catch up soon. Thank you.